Our next game is Duke versus number 5 Miami at 12 p.m. Spread being Miami at -20, and then of course ESPN FPI in Miami's favor as well. Very common question is still, is Miami fraudulent? Getting at least 3 wins where they probably shouldn't have even counted as wins. They were really looking at 3 losses until the referees got involved. Um, you know, you got VT where everybody knows now the touchdown that was called back and called incomplete, where there was no video evidence whatsoever. And then California giving up over 20 points in the fourth quarter to end up losing the game. Now, California turns out to be pretty bad, being 4-4 overall and
right, but they missed
0-4 in
that.
the conference.
They missed that targeting call, which probably would have set them up in the field goal range, which would have put them ahead by 2 scores in that one.
Yeah. You also have Miami versus Louisville, which was a very close game, and I don't think we were really shocked by that because Louisville does have a good offense, and really Louisville, if they had a defense, could have really won. But when you can't stop the freaking run, then yeah, you're gonna lose the game. Meanwhile, Duke winning 6 turnovers, winning the turnover margin against SMU, and still managing to lose is my favorite of this past weekend. And that's a great way to go into a weekend when you have to play a top 5 opponent in Miami. Duke played a really good game against SMU. SMU does have a pretty good offense. I will give them that. Duke's defense really stood up and was like, you're not getting past us, at least not that much. But the offense just could not produce. Really, it kind of turned into last year's offense where they ran the ball a lot, and then if they got lucky, they got some good passing plays in there. Mason, what do you got?
Well, I wanted to ask you a question first with you, being our resident ACC guy. It seems truly that the ACC has made some business decisions in favor of Miami to keep their undefeated season going, to keep that team in the playoff hunt. So my question for you right now, though, is do you think that the ACC higher ups or in the front office, wherever they may be, do you think that they have more confidence right now in Miami being able to make a playoff run than they do in Clemson? And this is a legitimate question because Joey is a Clemson fan. I'm not making fun. I'm dead serious. Because it seems like they really have been trying hard to keep Miami in the race.
Confidence is, I don't know if they have more confidence. I think it really comes down to what can bring us more money. And at the end of the day, the big hoopla drama with Clemson is Dabo's not bringing in transfers, right? The number one destination for besides freaking Florida State, the number one destination to go in the ACC to transfer to, Miami. And if Miami's good, a lot of people are going to want to transfer there. They got a good head coach. I'll give them that. They got a good head coach. And you know what? If their quarterback wins Heisman, you know what? We're putting out Heisman talent here. You can transfer here. You could be a Heisman winner, right? You can be in Miami, Florida, nice weather, beautiful beaches, a lot of terrible distractions there. But I think that's more what goes into it, is what brings us the most money, what can bring us in the most talent, because I think the ACC is definitely focused in on win now mentality. You see the Big Ten and the SEC bringing in a lot of transfers, great talents from other schools outside of the Power Four. ACC really has been you develop at the school you're at or you transfer out. Yes, Clemson has been a great team who develops their players, not really touches the transfer portal, but that doesn't bring money. So I think that's more so the case. I genuinely think a lot of people are more confident that Clemson would win out and have a better playoff run, only because of the experience in that as well. Miami doesn't really have that kind of experience. They do have good talent, but they just have more marketing value.
I really like that. That makes a lot of sense. Just do us a favor and beat them in the ACC championship, okay? All right. Anyway, yeah. So my pick for this one, I mean, it's going to be pretty straightforward. I just want to say, I think Duke is actually a really good team this year. Only loss being to Georgia Tech. They've actually played pretty well. Malik Murphy, he actually has 1,796 yards. He's got 17 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He actually has the same amount of interceptions that Cam Ward has, 5. It's just that Cam Ward has 1,000 more yards than him and 7 more touchdowns. So yeah, it's not going to be. I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I think Duke. I'm going to take Miami to win, but I'm going to pick Duke to cover. I don't think this is a 20-point win for Miami. I think Duke is a tough physical team. I definitely, don't get me wrong. I think Miami's going to win by at least 14, but I don't think they win by 20. Give me Miami to win. Give me Duke to cover.
I can understand where you're coming from. I think though that Duke had a really rough loss against SMU, and I think that it really shows that if you're winning the turnover margin by 6 and you're still losing the game, granted you brought it to overtime, granted you had a blocked field goal. He did miss one before that though. So, you can make all the excuses, but you know what? There are 66 or 6 other qualities that should have led to you winning, and they didn't. How did you benefit from the 6 turnovers? Well, by you losing, you didn't. Meanwhile, Miami would take advantage of that. And again, Duke has a good team. They're just not that good. I don't think Miami's all that great. I mean, their defense isn't. Going up against Louisville, it shows that. Their defense isn't, but their offense is a lot better than an SMU or a Georgia Tech. So I definitely got Miami in this one. A 20-point spread is wild, but I will say that Miami's going to cover it because, again, we've seen it a lot this season. If an offense cannot perform, the defense tends to suffer from it. And I think that will be the case in this game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a TBD triple pick. I've also got the Canes on Saturday in Miami, but I also like Duke to cover a 20-point game. There have been too many instances this year where Miami should have won big against teams that really, no disrespect, but they're not great. Like, if Miami had any sort of defense, they would have probably beaten Louisville handily. It's my opinion. I mean, Louisville has a good offense, but the reality of it is you put up 45 points in the second half, and the two of you just don't have a defense. That's just what it is. So with that said, Duke, I think, has had an okay defense this year. UNC, to go back to like the Duke and UNC game at the end of September, UNC is not a great team either, but they were up 20-0 in Durham in the third quarter, and Duke scored 21 unanswered and got the win. Over the last 18 minutes of football, they scored 21 straight. You don't do that without having some kind of defense. And again, I know UNC is not that great offense or whatever, and I know that JMU dropped a 70 burger. I get it, but again, I think Duke's defense. I think Duke's actually a pretty good team this year. I didn't know what they'd look like in Durham after Mike Elko's departure, but they look pretty good. I like Duke to cover. I like Miami in this one, though. I think Miami gets the win, probably about 2 touchdowns. But I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be entertaining, and we'll see what happens with Miami. They've got to prove themselves against a good team, and this is a chance to do it against a team that's not a 5-star caliber, but they're pretty good in Duke.